Hey guys, so recently on one of my Insta and Facebook stories videos said, asked for you guys to send questions through if you had anything you want answered. Today's question is, how do I overcome anxiety and hypervigilance? And it is a very complicated thing, but here's some simple tips that really help me with anxiety and hypervigilance. One is start meditating. Meditating is probably one of the biggest impactful factors that I had with dealing with anxiety and with hypervigilance, stress, all of those type of responses. Anxiety and hypervigilance are very similar things. It's an adrenal response of fear, fight or flight to a particular situation you perceive as dangerous or potentially hurtful. It's people have immense fear and anxiety around public speaking, for instance, which is about a fear of being judged. That fear of being judged dates back tens of thousands of years to when we were cavemen and women, and if you were judged, then you would be kicked out of your tribe and you would die. The second part of it is there's the hypervigilance part is catastrophizing what potentially could go wrong in your life because of an experience you've had before. Totally understandable if you're a police officer, first responder, soldier, somebody who's suffered immense trauma or abuse or something in a relationship, whatever the case may be. Here's some other really easy tips. Sleep 8 hours, so critical. Watch your diet, make sure it's not full of stimulants like caffeine and sugar, because those, when you drink too much coffee or have too much high processed sugar in your diet, then your body will respond with dump adrenaline, so you'll have adrenal fatigue. But the number one thing that I can get you to do in that situation is actually journal. Start journaling about the fears and the thoughts, where the anxiety and the hypervigilance lay, what the thing is that really worries you. So for instance, if you have anxiety and hypervigilance around being physically injured or hurt because of things that you've experienced as a police officer, for instance, then for me, it's actually about going, okay, you rationalize the process of what's the reality of you actually being injured or being hurt. And one of the fundamental things I found in that is I was like, when I'm not on duty as a cop, I've rarely been in a fist fight or in any conflict. In the last 15 years, there's been none. So for me to have fear and anxiety around potentially getting into conflict is ridiculous. Have a look at where you're catastrophizing, where you're making things 10 times worse than they need to be, and that will have a huge impact for you on that anxiety and hypervigilance. So watch your sleep, watch your diet, meditate, journal. And when you journal, literally sit down to start writing the fears. I'm really worried about this thing, and write a few sentences and then look at it, reread it and ask yourself, is that real? Because once you get it out of your head onto paper, you often see that there's a lot of fear and a lot of bullshit. Your mind makes up things to try and keep you safe. Your mind's job is to keep you safe, but that adrenal fatigue, fight or flight bullshit just means that you will look at things that aren't real and treat them as real. Exactly like when you watch a horror movie and you get scared, you know there's no chance you're being killed, you do the same thing. Just think of these thoughts and fears, and what you're looking at that brings on anxiety and hypervigilance is like a movie. There's no truth to it. You're just making that shit up in your head. Hope that helps. Any other questions you've got, guys, please send them through.